The plotter breaks, and you run over here and you fix the plotter. And then all of a sudden, I notice sales has a problem over here, and you got an invoice. And you got invoicing, accounting's got a problem, and you're over here. And your whole day turns out to be putting out fires as an owner, as a manager. Who can relate to this? So I asked the question, are you the leader your company needs?
Hello. So we got our hands on the actual footage and the video and the audio of my presentation at the ISA. So if you didn't go to the Sign Expo in Vegas, then you didn't get to see our presentation on Are You the Leader Your Company Needs? And it's a really powerful conversation because a lot of the times, even the leader comes in, punches the clock, and just leaves. And he doesn't really focus on what he's supposed to be doing. Doesn't really focus on what that company needs. So the question I always ask you is, are you the leader your company needs? So go ahead and listen to this presentation, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
So I asked the question, are you the leader your company needs? But before I can even remotely get you guys to give you enough answers, we got to talk about a couple other things first. Number one, we all have to know that none of us wanted to be in the signage industry when we grew up, right? We all fell into it one way or another. Am I correct? Did we all fall into it one way or another? We all fell into it? Yes, we did. And then on top of it, we all agree that it's kind of like the mafia because we can't get out of it now, right? We've seen too much. Whether we do sales, we do wholesale, we do something, we're always going to be in this industry. And it's an amazing industry and I absolutely love it. For me personally, my dad was an artist. He could sit here and draw you. Amazing. I have problems with stick figures. I can't do it. It skips a generation apparently. But he was drawing patterns and doing the topography before computers. And then after when computers came out and he would no longer need a draftsman, he had to go back to school and get an accounting degree. So I got an accounting degree and I went to work for the big 5 audit firms. And within 3 months, I ran screaming back to the signage industry. So here we are. So a little bit of story about us. Most companies in the United States, regardless of signage industry or not, are considered startup companies. 43-year-old companies can be considered a startup company still. The difference between a startup company and a mid-sized company or a growing company is about how you put that company together. Startup companies have no long-range vision. It's kind of probably how all of us started when we started owning a sign shop or becoming a manager of a sign company. We said, hey, I can build the sign. Do you need a sign? Great. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to sell you a sign. Then I got too much work and I said, I can't do the sales, the invoicing, the production. I have to hire somebody. And we all took that first big leap of faith and we hired the first person. And all of a sudden we had workers' comp, we had insurance, we had all these other things that went with it. And then we kept growing and hiring more people and growing and hiring more people. And now you're up to 10 to 20 employees and you're just starting to get the wheels. You're keeping the wheels on at this point in time. At this point in time, you're literally just going, all right, all the phone calls got answered. All the projects are going out that needs to be done. I'm doing good. Check win for me. I did a good job today. And every single day starts to be something a little bit different. The plotter breaks and you run over here and you fix the plotter. And then all of a sudden I notice sales has a problem over here and you got an invoice. And you got invoicing, accounting's got a problem and you're over here. And your whole day turns out to be putting out fires as an owner, as a manager. Who can relate to this? Okay, across the board, we can. And at some point in time, we realize that we have to do better. And when we have to do better, that means that we have to start thinking as a culture. And that is the first step in moving from a startup to a mid-size or a growth company. When a mid-size or a growth company starts to have things like culture, starts to have training seminars. When the new employees come in, they have to go through a little bit of a training before they're allowed to go out to the floor. I have a sign company. I'm the founder of Square Coil. I know it's a software company, but I also own a sign company. It's a family business. We are still a startup company. The person gets hired at my sign shop, you're over there doing vinyl, someone will look over your shoulder for the next couple hours, you're good to go. 44 years old, I'm still a startup. I still haven't done the growth and the culture that needs to be considered a mid-size, established or maturing company. That's like SeaWorld. If you ever go to SeaWorld, you go to Disney, do you know that Minnie Mouse has a booklet this big of what she's allowed to do and not do? Do you know that Minnie Mouse, when you give her a hug, she's not allowed to let go until you let go first? No matter who puts on that outfit, you're getting the same exact experience. That's a mature company. That's pretty hard to do in the motley crew of the signage world that we're in, right? That's very difficult to do. We're trying to keep the wheels on. At the same time, you're asking us to have a culture building society inside of our four walls so our clients get the same experience. Who has multiple sales reps in your company? Okay, quite a bit. You know, and I know that depending on which sales rep I get, I'm getting a completely different experience in your company than the other one, correct? That's your first step in creating culture. You can't have all the salesmen be armies of one. They have to be trained the same, talk the same, walk the same, do the same thing so your customers get that same exact experience. For years, all my sales reps are armies of one. It was brutal. It really, really was. And I get clients complaining about one sales rep and they loved another sales rep. And it's what happens is we started doing training. And then after we started doing training, teaching everybody, hey, these are the 5 questions you need to ask on day 1. These are what you need to bring back to my art department every single time. And we started training, work with them. And they came back. We said, where's your checklist? We literally had a piece of paper we gave them. Said, where's your checklist to fill it out? Simple, stupid, but it got the point across. They started acting like a group. They started working together. As a leader in any capacity that you're at, you have to be a strong leader. And what I mean by that is it my way highway? Absolutely not. I'll tell you right now, I'm a servant leader. I want to tell my team what the vision is, where they're heading, and what tools they need to be successful. That's all I want to give them. And then for the love of God, get me out of the road and let them run. But if I didn't give them the tools to be successful, whose fault is that? That's my fault. If I didn't teach them where the vision is and where to go, whose fault is that? It's my fault. And so you guys have all seen the string theory. You know, you try and push the string, it doesn't go anywhere. Push it from the middle, doesn't go anywhere. You can only pull it from the front. Every single one of you guys that has anybody below you, your attitude affects the rest of them. I have 29 employees at the sign company. I have 15 employees at the software company. If I'm in a bad mood regardless of what's going on in that company, if I'm in a bad mood within 4 hours, the whole company's cranky. I have to check my ego at the door, no matter what is going on, and go, how's everybody doing today? What's going on? And put that smile on my face, regardless of what I'm feeling on the inside. That is the choice that you guys all made when you took that position. You don't have no choice now. There is no ego. You have to have a smile on your face. You have to lead with attitude and give them all the tools to be successful. So culture is very, very important. And it's very difficult to do because on top of all of this, we still have the broken plotter, right? We still have the invoicing problems. We still have the PM problems. The site wasn't ready and all the crazy headaches that come in the signage world. Then we get to the role of the president. Now, the president's job is to implement what the CEO is trying to push. The president's job is to make sure it sticks. I cannot tell you how many times I had an idea. I thought it was a really good idea. And I launched it to my shop. I told my sales team, this is what I'm going to do moving forward. It's going to make the experience better for my customers. The shop guys are going to understand it more. Let's go ahead and move forward in this direction. 3 little weeks later, and everybody forgot that speech. Nobody had a clue. I said, hey, where's this chart? And they're like, what chart? And so being the president is very difficult because they have to implement it and make it happen at all times. The CEO is a whole different job. The CEO is the visionary of the company. The CEO is supposed to vision stuff that hasn't happened yet. Where's the company going to go? What do we want our company to look like in 10 years from now? What are those stepping stones to get there in those 10 years? So it's a very difficult task. You know, we love that famous saying, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. But to invent it, we have to have a vision of our own. Making sure that money gets collected, that's the president's job. Making sure the employees have the right tools, that's the president's job. Making sure that we are in the right venue for what we want to sell, that's the CEO's job.
Just want to take a moment to talk about Square Coil here. Square Coil has been powering the signage industry since 2011, and we're only growing bigger and better and stronger every single day. Some of the latest updates have just made my life a lot easier. I'm sure it's going to make your life a lot easier. So if you haven't checked us out, go ahead and get on our website, squarecoil.com. Take a look. And if you have an outdated key, an old software program that's going to be closing its doors this year, definitely take a look at us because we can make that transition real simple for you. Take a look at squarecoil.com.
Another section of what a CEO needs to do is, I hate to tell you guys all this, you're all actors. If you're the CEO of your company, you're an actor. You better be on a podcast. You better be doing a newsletter. You better be talking to the outside world of what your company is behind you and what's going on. Social media did that to us, whether we like it or not. Everybody wants to look up the company, what they're about, what's going on. They want to be part of the win. They want to celebrate your wins when you put a cool sign up on the wall. But if you don't have a social media account, if you don't have a newsletter, you are not talking to your audience. You're not talking to who they are. And it's kind of step one. If I ask, are you the leader that your company needs? The CEO better be doing newsletters and podcasts and getting on social media and showing all those things. It sounds like mundane, stupid work. Yeah, I get you. It's painful. But your company needs that. Who does a newsletter? A monthly newsletter. It's impressive. Impressive. Good job. Who does a newsletter to your employees? That's a big win. That's a huge win. How are the employees supposed to know the vision of where you want to take the company if you're not talking to them and communicating to them? That was a thought process that didn't even compete into my mind 5 years ago. Didn't even think about telling the team what I was doing. You know what I did? I led by example. I said, guys, I can work just as hard. I can work just as hard. Follow me. I can work just as hard, just as hard. And yeah, I led by example, but they had no idea where they were rowing to. They had no idea where they were going. And at some point in time, they go, well, yeah, you're the boss. You're going to work hard. And that is not the good place for the CEO. President to a point, yeah, lead by example, but the CEO, that's not it. Giving them the tools, giving them the vision, knowing where they need to go, that's what a CEO does. Most people that we go to, so in Square Coil, we go out to other sign companies, we teach them on our ERP software system, how to run the software. And I end up talking to owners all the time about this very topic that we're talking about right now. And so that's why I want to talk to you guys today about this of the role of the president, the role of the CEO are vastly different. I mean, they are way out here different. And a lot of people confuse them, think it's the same job. And you're doing your company a little bit of a disservice on that one. Inside of Square Coil, we have a couple project reports that we always want the CEO to look at all times. Number one is the open orders report. How much money is coming in? How much money have we already invoiced? And what do we still have to invoice for that month? The open orders. You guys should know what your break even is and how much you're exceeding at every single month. As a CEO, you should know those numbers and then delegate to the president of what's going on and how to receive them. But you should know your numbers inside and out of your bottom line and what it takes. Then you need to figure out how to grow those numbers. A newsletter is a perfect way to grow those numbers. If I have a company that's buying only exterior signs from me, and I write a newsletter about interior signs, the chances are they're going to come back and go, you do interior signs too? I never knew. And now they're going to buy from me as well. I've had 2 clients over my 28-year career doing sales that literally bought a $100,000 interior package because they thought I only did exterior signs. That's my fault. I screwed up and didn't tell them all the things that I could do. But I could have done a newsletter every month and told them. And been top of the mind awareness. So when they go, hey, we need that shipping and receiving sign, and it's been 2 years since they bought from me, that one rep's going to go, oh, I got it. That sign, I know this sign company. We're going to take care of it. And I'm top of the mind awareness. Newsletter has a lot of different avenues. That's one place. Inside of Square Coil, sales cycles. How long is it from when you get ink, is that sign going on the wall or being delivered? Your guys' job and the CEO is to figure out how to speed that process along and move that sales cycle along. Right now, I'm 110 days. That's my average in my company. I'm trying to do everything I can. The city, I hate them. They suck. And they take forever to get it out of the freaking area. But that's just one of the sales cycles that we have to deal with. Bottom line, when it comes to your bottom line and net profit, there's only 2 ways to make that number get better. Ask for more money up front or speed up your efficiencies inside the shop. We have a labor analysis report inside of Square Coil that I absolutely love. What it does is it does an analysis report for every single job. What I estimated, what it actually was. But then we go one step further and we go, okay, for this, the metal department, we had 48 jobs go through the shop this month. Overall, they had 340 hours and it took us 360. Okay, did one job go sideways? Or did we bleed on every job? So I start scrolling up, I see little red tick marks. You start bleeding on quite a bit of jobs. Is the estimator cutting my guys off at the knees? Or did my guys fall asleep at the wheel sometimes? Which one is it? So I start investigating. Turns out one of my 240 plugs had fried and nobody told me and they were sharing one welder. If I didn't have this report, how many months would have gone on before I found that out? These stupid things happen all the time. And so keeping an idea on that field of what's going on is going to be part of that job. CEO's got to be aware of it, got to delegate to the president to make sure it happens. Empowering leaders. Regardless of where you sit in the hierarchy chart of your company, everybody's a leader. Every single person. I will never hire a task manager. If I come to work and somebody goes, what's next? I'm sorry, but you're not fit for this world. I can't have you here. You should know what's going on. How you take self-starters and turn them into taskmasters, point out their flaws. Sounds stupid, sounds simple. But if I walk up and go, that should have been green, you painted it blue, I turn him into a taskmaster. If I walk up and go, can you please review these drawings and let me know if anything's different? I let them find the error. Now they know how to find a solution on their own, and they're going to stay as self-motivator for a starter. If I keep telling them what's wrong and what's right, they will shut down in their head mentally, and they will just sit there and wait for you to tell them the next thing. And now basically you have an extension of you, and you don't have another person that's actually working for you. So how you talk to your team is very important on how you make sure that they keep moving and growing. I will gladly take a $500 screw up, and it takes them a day to learn, then save me $200 and I tell them in 5 minutes. Because I'm not doing them any favors in the long run. Yeah, I won the little war, but I won the battle, but I lost the war. They're not going to do it. You have to take the time to teach them in such a way that works for them. We all know the difference between a metal guy and a painter. We know the difference between a plotter and a CNC router. Do we now know the difference between a president and a CEO? And I did my job. I appreciate everybody coming to talk to me. If you are not running a good ERP system, or you don't like it, or it doesn't give you the functionality that the reports I just gave you, we are booth 4349 Square Coil. Come by and take a look at our software. It'll show you and have all those reports. The last thing I want is a CEO that is building reports and takes them 2-3 hours. I want them clicking a button and taking 5 seconds so they have the time to implement the change they need inside of their company. I do have a couple minutes if you guys have any questions. Do we have any questions or experiences? Or I can just tell you horror stories. We have a lot of those. All right. So the question was, the younger generation, when they don't find something going on, they tend to shut down and then just wait for help. It's really funny. When I go out and do the training, I always say, if you're setting up employees, if they're over 40 years of age, don't give them delete. Because if you give them delete permissions, all the people over 40 remember what an Etch-a-Sketch was. And if they start cruising through the software and they go, oh, I don't know, I didn't do anything. And they might have blown away vital information. People under 40, for whatever reason, when they get lost, they just go, and they shut down and they stop. And his question was, how do we motivate the younger generation? It really depends. And I'm going to give 2 examples here. One example is, do they want to make their mark on this planet? Are they really excited and pumped? Then you show them the big picture and you work backwards. I've done that and say, hey, look how cool this sign is. And this owner is so proud to have this sign. It's their name on the wall and they're so pumped to be there. And then we got to make sure it's perfect. You know, if you're going to get a wedding ring for your wife, and it's got to be perfect, right? Because that's your symbol of love. They want their sign to be perfect. So let's just triple check this. I'll stand here with you. Let's walk it through. But you talk out loud to me and I'm going to say yes or no. And we're just going to walk through that. Well, trying to not offend everybody here. If they need a safe place, those are harder. They're a lot harder. Those are ones we're going to say, hey, what would you do if you as your sign? And we try and really bring it back to them and kind of really get them to think about it. And you're going to spend a lot more time getting them to that answer. They're a lot more difficult. They really are. But the younger generation is different. I'm from the browbeat generation. I really am. You did it wrong. All right, fine, I'll do it again. You know, that's just where I came from. And the younger generation is a different animal. And you definitely have to massage that a little bit. Good question. Other questions. So he had a question. He goes, you said you'd rather lose $500 and let them find their own mistake. At what point in time do you jump in? That was his question. It's a good question. I usually spend about a half an hour to an hour away from them. It's going to cost me about $30 and whatever mistake they make. Now, you guys remember, every mistake, if it's a $300 mistake, did it cost me $300? Did it cost me $600? Or did it cost me $900? Cost me $900. The time they screwed up, the time to redo it, and the time they could have built something else. So every time they cost a dollar number on it's triplicate of what it could have cost us. So I wait about a half an hour to an hour, and then I go back and ask the question, did you find any discrepancies? And then I listen. I find by asking questions, I can guide somebody because I know their thought process by what they're telling me. If I just tell them, I have no idea what their thought process is, so I can't guide them. So the more questions I ask, the better of end result I end up getting.